Dr. Marcus Chen had seen many strange things during his 15 years as a field veterinarian on the frontier world of Kepler 442b, but nothing had prepared him for what happened that stormy evening in October. The rain hammered against his clinic's metal roof like 1,000 tiny hammers. Marcus was finishing his evening rounds, checking on a wounded earthborn horse that had tangled with some local thorned vines when the building shook, not from thunder, but from something massive landing outside. The emergency lights flickered as whatever it was settled with a ground-shaking thud. Marcus grabbed his medical kit and emergency scanner, thinking it might be a crashed transport or mining equipment. The colony's emergency protocols were clear. All medical personnel respond to potential casualties. He stepped outside into the driving rain and froze. A dragon crouched in his parking area. Not the mythical creatures from old Earth stories, but a real, living being that stood 12 feet tall at the shoulder. Her scales were deep emerald green with golden highlights that seemed to glow even in the dim light. Her wings, each spanning at least 30 feet, were folded protectively around something small. Steam rose from her massive body as the cold rain struck her warm hide. The dragon's great head turned toward Marcus, and he found himself staring into eyes that held an intelligence far beyond any animal he had ever treated. They were ancient eyes, filled with wisdom and desperate hope. But more than that, they were the eyes of a mother in distress. She made a low, rumbling sound that vibrated through Marcus's chest. It wasn't threatening, it was pleading. "Easy there," Marcus said softly, his veterinarian instincts overriding his shock. "I'm not going to hurt you." The dragon's massive head tilted, studying him. Then, with infinite care, she began to unwrap her wings. Inside their protective embrace lay a small dragon, no bigger than a house cat. The hatchling's scales were pale silver, almost translucent, and Marcus could see that the little creature was barely breathing. The mother dragon gently nudged the hatchling toward Marcus with her enormous snout, never taking her eyes off his face. The message was clear. "Help my baby." Marcus approached slowly, hands visible and movements deliberate. "Okay, Mama, let me take a look." He knelt beside the tiny hatchling and ran his scanner over its body. The readings made his heart sink. The little dragon was dying. Its life signs were fading fast, and his scanner detected massive organ failure. Whatever was wrong, it was beyond anything his equipment was designed to handle. But as Marcus watched, something extraordinary happened. The mother dragon began to hum, a deep, resonant sound that seemed to come from her very core. The air around them shimmered, and Marcus felt a tingling sensation on his skin. His scanner began picking up energy readings unlike anything he had ever seen. The hatchling stirred slightly, its breathing becoming a little stronger. "You're doing something," Marcus whispered in amazement. "Some kind of energy transfer?" The great dragon's eyes met his again, and Marcus saw exhaustion there. She was giving her own life force to keep her child alive, but it wasn't enough. She was running out of strength. Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He placed his hands on either side of the tiny hatchling, feeling its paper-thin scales and fragile bones. "I don't know if this will work, but I have to try." He activated his medical nanobots, microscopic machines designed to repair tissue damage in Earth animals. They weren't programmed for alien physiology, but Marcus began manually directing them, using his scanner to guide their work. The nanobots entered the hatchling's bloodstream and immediately began sending back data. To Marcus's amazement, dragon physiology wasn't entirely different from Earth reptiles, just far more complex. The nanobots began adapting, their AI systems learning and adjusting in real time. The mother dragon watched with keen intelligence as Marcus worked. She seemed to understand that he was trying to help, and she increased her humming, pouring more of her energy into her child. Hours passed. Marcus lost track of time as he worked, directing nanobots, monitoring life signs, and learning more about dragon biology than any human had ever known. The mother dragon never moved from her protective stance, never stopped her energy transfer, never stopped watching her baby with desperate love. As dawn broke over the frontier settlement, the tiny hatchling opened its eyes for the first time in days. They were the same brilliant gold as its mothers, and they fixed on Marcus with curious intelligence. The mother dragon made a sound that could only be described as a purr of relief and gratitude. She nuzzled her baby gently, then looked at Marcus with an expression that transcended species. It was pure motherly gratitude. "He's going to make it," Marcus said, exhausted but exhilarated. "Your little one is going to be fine." The mother dragon carefully gathered her hatchling against her warm body, then did something that left Marcus speechless. She bowed her great head to him, a gesture of respect and thanks that was unmistakably regal. Then she spread her massive wings and launched herself into the morning sky, her hatchling safe in her protective embrace. Marcus stood in his parking lot, covered in mud and rain, watching them disappear into the clouds. He had just saved the life of an alien being, and in doing so, had made contact with a species that clearly possessed intelligence, emotions, and a complex society. He had no idea that this was just the beginning of something that would reshape humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. The dragon mother would not forget his kindness, and dragons, Marcus was about to learn, never forgot a debt. 3 weeks later, as Marcus was closing his clinic for the evening, he heard the familiar sound of massive wings. But this time, it wasn't just one dragon that landed in his parking area. It was 3. The mother dragon was there, her hatchling now visibly stronger and larger, riding on her back. Beside her were 2 other dragons, one silver and massive, clearly an elder, and another deep blue with intricate patterns across its hide. They had come back. And Marcus realized that his life as a simple frontier veterinarian was about to become far more complicated than he had ever imagined. The 3 dragons settled in the open field behind Marcus's clinic with a grace that belied their enormous size. The mother dragon, whom Marcus had begun thinking of as Emerald, dismounted her healthy hatchling with gentle care. The little one, now showing vibrant silver scales and bright, alert eyes, immediately began exploring the area around its mother's feet. The massive silver dragon stepped forward, and Marcus felt an almost physical weight of ancient authority. This was clearly an elder, possibly the leader of their kind. Its scales bore intricate patterns that spoke of great age, and its eyes held depths of knowledge that made Marcus feel very small and very young. The blue dragon remained slightly back, but Marcus could see it watching him with intense curiosity. Its patterns seemed to shift and flow across its hide like living artwork. Then something happened that changed everything Marcus thought he knew about these creatures. The elder dragon opened its mouth and spoke, not in roars or growls, but in clear, accented English. "Dr. Marcus Chen," the dragon's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "I am Elder Thoraxis of the Skyborn clans. We have come to express our gratitude and to make you an offer that no human has ever received." Marcus nearly dropped his medical bag. "You can speak? You know English?" "We know many languages," Thoraxis replied, amusement evident in the ancient voice. "We have been watching your kind since you first arrived on this world. Most humans see us as mere beasts, if they see us at all. We prefer it that way. But you, Dr. Chen, you saw a mother in need and responded with compassion. That changes everything." Emerald moved closer, her hatchling at her side. "You saved my son's life," she said, her voice softer than Thoraxis's, but equally clear. "Zephyr would have died without your intervention. Dragons do not forget such debts." The blue dragon finally stepped forward. "I am Azura, keeper of ancient knowledge. What you did that night was unprecedented. You combined human technology with our life force channeling in a way that should have been impossible. The nanobots in your medicine adapted to our physiology as if they had been designed for us. Marcus looked between the three magnificent beings, trying to process what he was hearing. I just did what any veterinarian would do. I couldn't let a baby suffer. Precisely, Thoraxis rumbled approvingly. Most humans would have run in fear or worse tried to capture us for study. You saw a mother's pain and acted to heal it. This is why we make this offer. What offer? Marcus asked, though part of him already suspected his quiet life was about to become anything but quiet. Azura's patterns shifted to deeper blues and purples. We wish to invite you to become the first human member of our healing circles. You would learn our ancient arts of life force manipulation, and we would learn your modern medical techniques. Together, we could create new forms of healing that neither of our species could achieve alone. The implications hit Marcus like a thunderbolt. You're talking about a formal alliance between humans and dragons. Eventually, perhaps, Thoraxis acknowledged. But first, trust must be built. Understanding must be fostered. You would be our ambassador to your kind, just as we would be yours to the Skyborn clans. Little Zephyr, who had been exploring during the adult conversation, suddenly bounded over to Marcus and wrapped his small body around the human's leg like an affectionate cat. His scales were warm against Marcus's skin, and he made small, happy, chirping sounds. Emerald's eyes softened as she watched her son. Zephyr has bonded with you. In our culture, this is deeply significant. He sees you not as an alien, but as family. Marcus reached down to gently stroke the young dragon's head, marveling at the intelligence in those golden eyes. I'm honored, but I have to ask, if you've been watching humans all this time, why reveal yourselves now? Why to me? Azura's patterns shifted again, this time to troubled reds and oranges. Because darker times are coming, Dr. Chen. There are others among the stars who see this world as a prize to be claimed. We have sensed their approach, and neither dragons nor humans alone will be strong enough to stand against them. The Void Seekers, Thoraxis explained, his voice taking on a grim tone. They are an ancient enemy of all life. They consume worlds, drain them of everything that makes them living, breathing places. They have found this world, and they are coming. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the evening air. How long do we have? Months, perhaps a year, Emerald said. Their advanced scouts are already probing the outer system. They move slowly, but when they arrive in force, they bring extinction. But there is hope, Azura interjected, her patterns brightening slightly. The combination of human technology and dragon arts could create defenses unlike anything either of our species has developed alone. Your nanobots, guided by our life force techniques, could potentially repair damage faster than the Void Seekers can inflict it. Our energy shields, enhanced by human engineering, could withstand their death rays. Thoraxis fixed Marcus with his ancient gaze. This is why we reveal ourselves now. Not just for gratitude, though that runs deep, but because the survival of all life on this world may depend on our two species learning to work as one. The weight of what they were asking settled on Marcus's shoulders. He looked around at the three dragons, at little Zephyr still clinging to his leg, at the peaceful frontier town in the distance where people lived their quiet lives, unaware that their world might soon face extinction. Where would we begin? He asked. Emerald's eyes brightened with hope. Tonight, if you are willing, we will take you to the Skyhold, our ancient city in the mountains. There you will meet the healing circle and begin learning our ways. In return, you will teach us about human medicine, about these miraculous nanobots, about the science that let you save my son. And the human authorities? My government will want to know where I've gone. Thoraxis rumbled with what sounded like amusement. Leave that to us. We have been influencing human perceptions for decades when necessary. Your absence will be explained as a research expedition to the Northern Territories. Your reputation as a dedicated scientist will support the story. Marcus looked down at Zephyr, who chirped encouragingly up at him. Can I trust you? All of you? You trusted Emerald with her dying child, Azura pointed out. You could have called for military backup, could have tried to capture her for study, could have done any number of things that would have served human interests over compassion. Instead, you chose to heal. That tells us everything we need to know about your character. Emerald stepped closer, lowering her great head until she was at eye level with Marcus. Dr. Chen, you have already proven that trust can exist between our kinds. You saved my son not because he was valuable to science or politics, but because he was a suffering child. If you can extend that compassion to learning our ways, we can build something beautiful together. Marcus thought about his quiet life, his simple clinic, his peaceful routines. Then he thought about the Void Seekers, about the threat to everyone he cared about the incredible opportunity to bridge two species and maybe save a world. He reached up and gently touched Emerald's snout, feeling the warm scales and the power beneath them. When do we leave? The three dragons exchanged looks that clearly communicated satisfaction and hope. Now, Thoraxis rumbled. Climb onto Emerald's back, Dr. Chen. It's time to see what wonders our two species can create together. As Marcus climbed carefully onto Emerald's back, with little Zephyr settling happily in front of him, he realized that his life had just taken a turn toward the extraordinary. Whatever came next, whether salvation or destruction, humans and dragons would face it together. The flight to the Skyhold would take most of the night, Emerald told him as they took off into the star-filled sky. By dawn, Marcus would begin learning arts that no human had ever imagined, and he would start teaching techniques that could revolutionize dragon healing. Behind them, his clinic sat empty but not abandoned. He would return eventually, but when he did, he would bring with him knowledge that could change the fate of two worlds. The Skyhold took Marcus's breath away. Hidden within the highest peaks of the crystalline mountains, the ancient dragon city defied everything he thought he knew about architecture and engineering. Massive spires carved from living rock spiraled up toward the clouds, connected by bridges that seemed to float without support. Gardens of luminescent plants cascaded down cliff sides, their soft blue light providing illumination even in the pre-dawn darkness. As Emerald landed on a broad platform, Marcus saw other dragons moving through the city with purposeful grace. Some were tending to the glowing gardens. Others were flying between the spires carrying objects he couldn't identify, and still others were gathered in what appeared to be discussion circles, their voices creating a harmonic humming that resonated through the mountain itself. "Welcome to the heart of our civilization," Thoraxis announced as they dismounted. "This city has stood for over 10,000 of your years, and in all that time, no human foot has touched these stones." Zephyr immediately scampered off to play with a group of other young dragons, his happy chirps echoing off the carved walls. Marcus watched him go with a smile, amazed at how quickly the little one had recovered from his near-death experience. "The healing circle awaits," Azura said, her patterns now shifting to welcoming golds and greens. "They are as curious about you as you surely are about them." They led Marcus through corridors lined with crystalline formations that pulsed with soft light. The walls themselves seemed alive, responding to their presence with gentle waves of illumination. Marcus ran his hand along one surface and gasped as he felt a warm vibration, almost like a heartbeat. "The city is bio-integrated," Emerald explained, noticing his amazement. "It grows rather than being built. The crystal networks carry our life force throughout the structure, making the entire city a living entity in its own right." They entered a vast circular chamber where 12 dragons of various colors and sizes waited in a perfect circle. At the center of the chamber lay a pool of water so clear it seemed like liquid crystal. Above them, the chamber opened to the sky through a natural chimney in the mountain, and the first rays of dawn were beginning to filter down. "Brothers and sisters of the Healing Circle," Thoraxis announced, "I present Dr. Marcus Chen, the human who saved young Zephyr and who may hold the key to our survival against the coming darkness." The dragons each inclined their great heads in greeting, and Marcus felt overwhelmed by the intelligence and wisdom radiating from each of them. These were clearly the greatest healers of their kind, masters of arts that humans couldn't even imagine. A dragon with scales like polished gold spoke first. "I am Solara, first healer of the Circle. We have studied the nanobots you used to save Emerald's child. They are remarkable, but we believe we can make them even more effective. And we hope you can help us extend our life force techniques beyond our own kind," added another dragon, this one with scales that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. "I am Cosmos. My specialty is energy manipulation on the quantum level." Marcus felt both excited and intimidated. "I'm honored to be here, but I have to be honest. I'm just a veterinarian. I'm not a scientist or an engineer. I work with animals, and I improvise when I have to." "Precisely why you are perfect for this task," rumbled a dragon whose scales were deep purple with silver edges. "I am Shadowmend, and I specialize in healing techniques that others consider impossible. True innovation comes not from rigid thinking, but from the willingness to try something that has never been done before." Solara gestured toward the crystal pool with one graceful wing. "Dr. Chen, are you willing to undergo the bonding? It is how we share knowledge and experience directly, mind to mind. It will allow us to understand your medical techniques completely, and it will let you learn our healing arts in hours rather than years." Marcus looked around the circle of ancient, wise faces. "Is it safe?" "Safer than what you did the night you saved Zephyr," Emerald said gently, "and far less dangerous than what we all face if the Void Seekers arrive before we are ready." Taking a deep breath, Marcus stepped toward the pool. "What do I need to do?" "Simply place your hands in the water," Cosmos instructed. "We will do the rest." As Marcus knelt and placed his palms on the surface of the crystal-clear pool, the water began to glow. The light spread up his arms, warm and tingling, and suddenly his mind was filled with sensations unlike anything he had ever experienced. He could feel the life force of every dragon in the circle, their thoughts and memories and knowledge flowing through him like a gentle river. He saw thousands of years of healing techniques, understood how dragons channeled the very energy of life itself, learned to perceive the invisible connections between all living things. At the same time, he felt the dragons exploring his memories, learning about human medicine, understanding how nanobots worked at the molecular level, discovering the scientific principles that guided his veterinary practice. The exchange lasted only minutes, but when it ended, Marcus felt fundamentally changed. He could sense the life energy flowing through his own body, could perceive the health and vitality of every dragon around him, could feel the living presence of the city itself. "Remarkable," Solara breathed. "Your nanobots are not just machines. They are artificial life forms, capable of learning and adapting. Combined with our life force techniques, they could create healing beyond anything either of our species has achieved." Marcus flexed his fingers and watched in amazement as tiny sparks of energy danced between them. "I can feel it. The life energy. It's like seeing in a new color. And we now understand the true potential of your molecular medicine," Shadowmend added. "Dr. Chen, I believe we can create something extraordinary together." Over the following hours, Marcus worked with the Healing Circle to develop techniques that married human technology with dragon arts. They programmed nanobots to respond to life force direction, created energy shields that could regenerate automatically, and designed healing protocols that could bring back creatures from the very edge of death. The breakthrough came when Azura suggested using the city's bio-integrated crystals as amplifiers for their combined techniques. "If we can network human technology with our living crystal systems," she explained, "we could create a planetary defense grid that draws power from the life force of every living thing on the world." "A shield powered by the will to live itself," Marcus said, understanding dawning. "The more life it protects, the stronger it becomes." Exactly. And the Void Seekers, being creatures of death and emptiness, would find such a defense utterly alien. They would not know how to counter it. As they worked through the technical details, young Zephyr returned from his play, now accompanied by a human child Marcus didn't recognize. The little girl, perhaps 8 years old, was laughing as Zephyr showed off his ability to change the color of his scales. "Sarah!" Emerald called out in surprise. "How did you get here?" The child ran over to them, unafraid of the massive dragons surrounding her. "Zephyr came to play yesterday, and when he left this morning, I followed him. The path through the mountains was easy to see once he showed me." Marcus stared in shock. A human child made it to the skyhold on her own? Thoraxis rumbled with what sounded like amusement. "It would seem, Dr. Chen, that you are not the only human with the potential for dragon bonding. Young Sarah here appears to have formed a connection with Zephyr that transcends species." Sarah walked up to Marcus with the fearless confidence of childhood. "Are you the doctor who saved Zephyr? He told me all about it. He says you're going to help save everyone." "Zephyr told you?" Marcus asked, looking between the child and the young dragon. "We don't talk with words," Sarah explained matter-of-factly. "We talk with feelings and pictures. It's better than regular talking because you can't lie with feelings." Solara leaned down to examine the child more closely. "Fascinating. She has formed a natural telepathic bond with Zephyr. This suggests that human-dragon partnerships may be more possible than we ever imagined." As if to demonstrate, Zephyr trotted over to Sarah, and the two of them began what was clearly a silent conversation, their eyes locked in concentration. After a moment, they both turned to look at a specific section of the crystal wall, where new growth patterns were beginning to emerge. "They are communicating with the city itself," Cosmos observed in amazement. "The child's natural empathy, combined with Zephyr's instinctive connection to our biosystems, is creating new neural pathways in the crystal matrix." Marcus realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. "They're not just bonded to each other, they're bonded to your entire civilization." Over the following days, as word spread through both human and dragon communities about the alliance being forged at the Skyhold, more unlikely partnerships began to emerge. Other children followed Sarah's example, finding young dragons and forming bonds that amazed everyone involved. Human engineers arrived to study dragon biotechnology, while dragon scholars traveled to human cities to observe their scientific methods. The planetary defense grid took shape with remarkable speed. Human manufacturing capabilities combined with dragon life force techniques created a network of bio-integrated defense stations that spanned the entire world. Each station was powered not by traditional energy sources, but by the collective will to live of all the planet's inhabitants. When the Void Seekers finally arrived, 6 months later, they found not a divided world of competing species, but a unified biosphere that fought back with weapons they couldn't comprehend. The first wave of their death rays, which had destroyed countless worlds before, struck the planetary shield and were absorbed, their destructive energy converted into healing force that strengthened every living thing on the planet. Their planet crackers, massive machines designed to split worlds apart, found themselves unable to function as the living crystals of the defense grid interfered with their quantum mechanics. Most shocking of all, their psychological warfare, which had broken the spirit of 100 species, had no effect on a world where humans and dragons fought side by side, their bonds of friendship and mutual respect creating an unshakable foundation of hope. The Void Seekers, faced with a form of life they couldn't understand or destroy, withdrew from the system after only 3 days of futile assault. Marcus stood on the observation platform of his expanded clinic, now a combination human-dragon healing center, watching as Emerald and Zephyr played with Sarah and a dozen other human children in the fields below. The sight still amazed him, these impossible friendships that had grown from one desperate mother's plea for help. "Regrets?" Thoraxis asked, landing beside him with the grace of long practice. "None," Marcus replied honestly. "I used to think I was just a simple veterinarian on a frontier world. Now I know I was part of something much larger. The universe has a way of putting the right people in the right place at the right time," the elder dragon observed. "You saw a mother in need and responded with compassion. From that single act of kindness, 2 species found each other and a world found salvation." Marcus smiled as he watched Zephyr demonstrate his rainbow-scale trick to the delighted children. "Do you think we'll see the Void Seekers again?" "Perhaps. But if we do, they will find us even stronger. The bonds we have forged here are spreading to other worlds, other species. What began as a desperate alliance is becoming something greater, a new way for different forms of life to exist together." As the sun set over the peaceful valley, Marcus reflected on how much his life had changed. He was still a veterinarian, still dedicated to healing, but now his patients included dragons, and his techniques combined the best of 2 civilizations. The simple act of helping one sick child had led to friendships that spanned species, discoveries that revolutionized healing, and defenses that protected an entire world. In the end, the greatest power in the universe hadn't been weapons or technology or ancient magic. It had been the simple decision to help someone in need, regardless of how different they might be. From that compassion, miracles had grown.